Mhm. Okay. Okay. Mhm. All right. Shalom. Shalom. I want to say first and foremost, Shabbat Shalom. Call Halayimla Yahweh Bahasham Yahweh Shai Bahasham Rakah HaKodash. Double honors to the beloved apostles and elders of Great Millstone, better known as GMS who rule well. Peace and salutation unto the hopeful elect, the tabernacle of David, started with the 144,000, and the rest of the men, women, and children out of the 12 tribes, whom Yahweh, Bahasham Yahweh Shai, will ultimately have mercy upon. I'm your brother Montezabath from the branch of the Great Millstone here in Melbourne, Australia. And I couldn't wait to do a response video dealing with I call them gen no damn sense, all right, because they make absolutely no damn sense. Um, as you already know, they go by the title Group of Genesis, and as you can see, one of the leading members on the screen, Deacon, all right, and I actually got sent this earlier today, uh, before I left to go to work by the beloved brother Adar Gabar, all right, up there at GMS in Columbus, Ohio. Now, what you see here on the screen, this, however, was given to me by the beloved brother Yashar, which is a direct PDF going into why Genesis says that the lake of fire is not situated with Babylon the Great, which is America. Now, the original video, for any of you brothers that want to check it out for yourself on this current live, all you have to do is go into my description box, and I have left for you, all right, the video here. The Lake of Fire is not America. You can watch it on your own time. I'm not going to play any of the video because I don't want to hear them talk. All right. That's just me, but the video is in the description of this lesson. And I've also added in this PDF file. All right. For you brothers, if you want to take it away. All right. And you want to add to the lesson, you want to do a land back, bring out some more edifying points to feed the sheep. So what I'm going to do is we're going to quickly go through this PDF file. I'm just going to breeze through it. There's only going to be three main talking points that I want to bring out and clarify. One of them is going to be to show you that the lake of fire essentially dealing with America being engulfed with flames by those thermonuclear destruction missiles, known as the ICBM missiles, Salakia, by the thermonuclear destruction be that of the ICBM missiles. That's what I should have said. Secondly, I want to tap into the correlation between Armageddon and the Valley of Jehoshaphat, which is also something that they go off within this PDF, and they also mention it in the actual lesson that they did earlier. All right, and third, we're going to show you how the term Basra, all right, which is the city capital in Eden and Petro-Jordan, is actually in correlation and synonymously linked with the daughter of Babylon, or aka Babylon the Great America, which is today. All right. So in this lesson, I am hoping through the spirit and power of Yahweh Shemel Shai to achieve by going over those three talking points. And Abaratus, our Lord's will, it'll be edifying. Now, as I get into it, please let me know on the comment board if you can hear me clearly. All right. I know that sometimes YouTube has a bad habit of glitching brothers' lives and cutting our audio off. So from time to time, if I ask you, those of you who are viewing this, if you can hear me, just give me a thumbs up or yes in the comment section. That'll be greatly appreciated. So without further ado, all right, let's get into this this PDF file and the water for that. All right, so as you can see, Deacon, so-called Black Israelites wrong on this, and they have a picture of the country of America engulfed it with flames, right? And this is them, by the way. They've written this out. All right. So it says the doctrine of the lake of fire has long been misunderstood, confused with Christian mythology, or misapplied to America's coming nuclear destruction. But when we rightly divide the scriptures from Isaiah and Ezekiel to Revelation and Second Esdras, a far clearer picture emerges. The lake of fire is not America, but a literal, visible, divine judgment zone that begins in Basra, Edom, stretches through a nearby wilderness of purging, and concludes at Armageddon, where Yahushua crushes the beast and its religious deceiver. So here they put an image, all right, of what that may look like, right? Then they go on to say, this final fiery path will consume the enemies of Israel, Edomites, 2/3 of wicked Israelites, and the world's militaries, NATO and the EU, before transitioning into a new phase of dominion where Israel rules and the nations serve, backed by prophecy, geography, Salakia, in a consistent timeline. And this study reveals the true location, purpose, and phases of the lake of fire. And it completely dismantles false doctrines that spiritualize or misplace the most serious judgment event in scripture. All right, so section 1 says America is Babylon, not the lake of fire. America is Babylon, but it is not the lake of fire. America is the mystery Babylon spoken of in Jeremiah 51, Isaiah 13, Revelation 17 and 18, a corrupt global empire destined for divine destruction. Yes, America will be destroyed by thermonuclear fire, turning it into a burnt mountain. Jeremiah 51:25, a perpetual desolation that ancient Babylon never experienced. Now, what strikes me, what I find interesting is here you can see, I don't know, if this is going way over their head, but clearly if you have a look to the right side of the screen, they have an actual map of America engulfed it with flames, which in my view looks like a land engulfed it as a lake of fire. All right. But let's just stick to what they have, right? We're just going through the notion here, right? Let's pick up some steam here. It says, America, which is mystery Babylon, will be utterly destroyed by fire, but it won't burn forever. According to Jeremiah 50 and 40, its fall is compared to Sodom and Gomorrah, cities that burn completely, but are not still burning today. Revelation 18, 9 through 10, and chapter 18, verse 18, say the kings and merchants see the smoke of her burning, not the flames, meaning the destruction is complete. But the smoke is a witness, not a sign of ongoing fire. Finally, Jeremiah 51:29 says Babylon becomes a desolation without inhabitant, showing the land is left empty and cursed, not an eternal inferno. Meanwhile, the lake of fire is not a temporary event, it's everlasting judgment. It's not nuclear, okay? It's divine. This is Yahweh's baptism by fire, Matthew 3 and 11, which is something, depending on how much time I have. As you can see, I don't know what possessed them to throw that precept, Matthew 3 and 11, which absolutely has nothing to do with the topic at hand, dealing with the lake of fire. But anyway, let's keep it moving. And that baptism, it begins after America is already gone. Jeez. Babylon is destroyed in Revelation 18. The lake of fire doesn't appear until Revelation 19. Proof Babylon is not the lake of fire. So let's not confuse a nuclear warhead with Yahushua's wrath. All right. And keep in mind, this is all Genesis, or AKA Gen no damn sense. All right. Because they make absolutely no damn sense of what it is they're talking about. But this is their talking points. All right. So we're just, just kindly going over it real quick. Section 2, lake of fire begins in Edom, specifically Basra, which is one of the talking points we're going to go into. They say, now let's talk about the origin story. Where does the lake of fire begin? That would be Edom. Yahushua returns to Edom first, not Jerusalem or America. Then they give Isaiah 63 verses 1 through 6. The first place he touches down, Basra, that's personal. He treads the winepress and crushes the grapes alone. These grapes represent Edomites. Why Edom? Because he hates it. And the people, Isaiah 34 tells us that Edom becomes a land of burning pitch, a divine blaze that never goes out after he gathers them, destroys them, and sets the land ablaze. Verse 6 also says, for the Lord hath a sacrifice in Basra specifically. And then he goes on to give Revelation chapter 14, going into more depth about the grapes being crushed, so forth and so on. Then he gives a little insight in Numbers, the 24th chapter, which we all know these precepts by now. And then he brings it home with Revelation chapter 19 and 13. All right, which if we have time, we'll tap into that as well. All right, so moving on. Matthew 25:41, everlasting fire, prepare for the devil and his angels. This fire is ultimately for Esau, starts with them, and ends them for good, Obadiah 1 and 18. Which, by the way, all of these scriptures justify the original precepts he decided to bring out, Dylan, showing that America will be destroyed by thermonuclear fire, which indeed, while the land is engulfed with flames, all right, as John the Revelator was given a vision, in Revelation, the 15th chapter, he clearly tells you that he saw it as it were a sea of glass. Okay. Pretty much, engulfed it with flames of fire, roughly paraphrasing. Right. So nevertheless, it says this same lake of fire will be the place where the remaining Edomites are cast in to be exterminated after 1,000 years of slavery in the kingdom, which absolutely makes no effing sense, which tells me that they have confused the 1,000 years in Revelation 20 and 4 versus the 1,000 years in Revelation 20 and 7 for them to say something as ignorant as this. Let me read this again. This same lake of fire will be the place where the remaining Edomites are cast into be exterminated after 1,000 years of slavery in the kingdom of Obadiah 1:18. And the house of Jacob should be a fire, and the house of Joseph a flame. There should not be any remaining of the house of Esau. So you can already see what's going on here, right? Lake of fire doesn't magically appear in Armageddon. Oh my God. It says where the NATO and EU armies are put in the lake of fire, Revelation 19:20. It starts in Edom and spreads like divine wildfire to the wilderness and then Armageddon, which we're going to get into a little bit in that too as well. Then he goes into section 3, Obadiah 1 and 19, which we know that. He brings out section 4, the wilderness, next stop, judgment. All of this for, I think their video went for an hour and a half, and then they have some questions and Q&A. Then he gives Revelation 21. Okay. And they're just making it up as they go. And clearly they have, let me see here, section 6, 2nd Esdras 7, Luke. Yeah, they don't know what's going on. So like I said, I'm not even going to waste my time getting into all of this. As I stated before, I've put this PDF in the description box of my video. All right. And I've also put the actual link to their live trying to break this down. All right. So if you brothers want to watch it, just click on the links after my live, or you can go and watch it right now if you want to, get some popcorn and have some little bit of entertainment. But anyway, nevertheless, all right. So my talking point, I want to get a precept first. Let's come over here. And the one thing that I noticed when trying to put this lesson together was, number one, when it comes to the scriptures, the Lord had it coded for a reason, because it was only given for the elect. As a matter of fact, you know what? Let's get a precept in the Apocrypha first. One precept comes to mind. I want to get the book of 2nd Esdras, chapter 12, real quick. All right. And around verse 30, let me see here. We'll start at verse 36. All right. I'll bring this out. Y'all can see that. So it quickly says here, when Esdras was given the interpretation of the dream, the vision that the angel was showcasing to him. Verse 36, thou, speaking to Esdras, only has been meet to know this secret of the highest. Therefore, write all of these things that thou hast seen in a book and hide them and teach them to the wise of the people. And notice it says to the wise of the people, not just to anyone whose hearts thou knowest may comprehend and keep these secrets. All right. Because we understand that the Bible says he revealed his secrets unto his servants, the prophets. But at the same time, when you get the book of Timothy, let's come over here now to the blue letter. And we're going to get 2 Timothy 2 and 2, my favorite precept. It says, "In the things that thou hast heard of me among many witnesses, the same commit thou to faithful men who shall be able to teach others also." These same faithful men fall into the category of being wise men, coming back here to second Esdras, all right, whose hearts thou knowest may comprehend and keep these secrets, all right, because you got to understand that hopefully my mic is still on. Can you guys hear me? Let me know in the comment section. But what you have to understand is only the elect is going to be able to put the puzzle pieces together. All right. The secrets is going to be revealed unto his servants, the prophets, and the prophets go out and then they teach. All right. And they only teaching the elect. All right. And Shalom, Yahbashim Shabarakatah, Shabbat Shalom, and the waterfall. Let me know, Akia. All right. So now that we got that understanding, okay, let's come back over here. Now let's get First Corinthians, the 2nd chapter, because one thing indeed that struck me is these guys are very carnal and they don't discern anything through the spirit. All right. And we're going to start here, First Corinthians chapter 2, all right, in verse 13. And as it says, it reads, "Which things also we speak, not in the words which man's wisdom teacheth, but which the Holy Spirit teacheth, comparing spiritual things with spiritual." And we're going to do that within this lesson. We're going to use precept upon precept, line upon line, here a little and there a little. All right. And we also going to rely on the Rakak Kodash, the Holy Spirit, all right, to showcase to us to be able to link the precepts together so that you can fully see, all right, what's really going on. Verse 14, "But the natural man receiveth not the things of the Spirit of the Most High, for they are foolishness unto him, neither can he know them because they are spiritually discerned." Right. Okay. It wasn't given unto them to know the mysteries of the kingdom of heaven. All right. So now that we got that out the way, first thing we need to go into is we're going to deal with Basra. All right. Because let's come back over here. And I believe, where was it? Section, just bear with me. Right. Section 2, the lake of fire begins in Edom, specifically Basra. So let's deal with this first talking point. As I said, within this lesson, we're only going to cover 3 talking points. All right. First talking point we're going to cover is Basra. And the first precept I'm going to get is Jeremiah chapter 49 and verse 13. So now what we're going to show you here is the fact that when we brought out that you must compare spiritual things with spiritualness, all right, the Heavenly Father, peradventure, he opens up your understanding to receive this. When you put the precepts together, you are able to spiritually discern, all right, through different ways the prophets break it down that, hey, Basra, Edom, and the daughter of Babylon or Babylon the Great are all synonymous with one another. I'm about to show you right now. We're going to start here, Jeremiah 49 and verse 13, and it reads, "For I have sworn by myself, saith the Lord Yahweh, that Basra shall become a desolation, a reproach, a waste, and a curse, and all the cities thereof shall be perpetual wastes." Right? So now, how can we link this with Edom? Well, first and foremost, we understand through secular history, Basra, when you actually go into it, all right, it was actually one of the capital cities where Edom dwelt. And it also meant, as it says here in outline of biblical usage, sheepfold or fortress. All right. Let's see here. Let's go to etymology. All right. Yep. Enclosed fold, sheepfold. Right. So let me see here. Now, in the Brown Driver Briggs lexicon, It says the city of Edom, a fortress. And that's pretty much what it was. All right. Now, we always say this: modern day Babylon today, or sorry, I've said that wrong. Modern day Basra today is Babylon the Great. Can we prove that with precepts in the scriptures? Absolutely. First precept, we're going to back up. We're going to come over here to Jeremiah 50. All right. And when you start here at verse 8, when it says, remove out of the midst of Babylon and go forth out of the land of the Chaldeans and be as the he goes before the flock. So we are establishing the context centering around the word Babylon. As you drop down, same thing we read in Jeremiah 49 and 13 about Basra, you have here Jeremiah 50 and 13, which says, because of the wrath of Yahweh, it shall not be inhabited, but it shall be wholly desolate, and everyone that goeth by Babylon shall be astonished and hiss at all her plagues. Remember, Jeremiah 49:13 said, for I have sworn by myself, saith Yahweh, that Basra shall become a desolation, a reproach, a waste, and a curse, and all the cities thereof shall be perpetual wastes. Now, if we continue on from there, we're going to come over here to Jeremiah 51. Okay. As a continuation in verse 37, it says, and Babylon shall become heaps, a dwelling place for the dragons, and an astonishment and an hissing without an inhabitant. All right. So what I managed to do, now check this out. I actually put in Google, and I like to play around just to see what it actually says with the AI. And this is what I actually discovered, believe it or not. And it says here in the overview, and I put, spiritually speaking, would Basra today be the daughter of Babylon? Now watch what it gave me. In a spiritual sense, Basra can be interpreted as a symbolic daughter of Babylon. See that? Particularly in the context of the Edom prophecy in the Bible. While Basra was a real city in ancient land of Edom, the Edom prophecy, along with other passages in the Bible, speaks of the fall of Edom and its association with Babylon. So as you can see, there was a reason why we read earlier at First Corinthians, the 2nd chapter. We compare spiritual things with spiritualness, which is something that Gen No Damn Sense does. Deacon and Hassad, you are absolutely, completely bugged the hell out. You're through, right? This is the reason why, Hassad, when you went and asked Elder Apostle Ramlad about Ezekiel the 38th chapter, the moment he tried to go in and break it down, okay, this was last year. What did you do? You started bucking up. And the reason why your ass couldn't get it was because wisdom cannot enter into a malicious spirit. That's in Wisdom of Solomon, the 1st chapter. The same way, after you got shut down by Apostle Ramlad, what did you do? You went to the elder out there in North Carolina, okay? And you approached the North Carolina GMS camp, all right? And you got sent off because you didn't come up there to learn. But yet, you guys, Deacon and Hassad, you had to do a whole 2-hour video to break down that the lake of fire is not America. Meanwhile, we're here. And as we can see through even the AI tells you, it says, here's a breakdown of how Basra can be seen as daughter of Babylon in spiritual context. Why? Because we are comparing spiritual things with spiritualness. That's what we do over here at Great Millstone, right? It says Edom in its connection to Babylon. The Edom prophecy found in passages like Obadiah 1 verses 8 through 9 and Isaiah 34 portrays Edom as a descendant of Esau who is connected to the broader theme of a worldly, materialistic kingdom mirroring Babylon's downfall, aka America. Goes on to say, Basra as the capital of Edom. Basra was the capital city of Edom, and its destruction is a key part of Edom prophecy, linking its fate to the larger symbolic destruction of worldly kingdoms. Daughter of Babylon, symbolism. The term daughter of Babylon often signifies of a worldly power that has fallen from its former glory, much like Babylon itself. Edom and its capital, Basra, can be interpreted as symbolic representations of such a power. This is why the beloved elder Apostle Gabar always says and still says to this day, modern day Basra really is America. This is what we've been telling you from the apostles, the bishops, and the elders on down. Even AI is telling you. Right? Spiritual interpretation from a spiritual perspective, which is something that Jinn no damn sense has at all. They don't have the spiritual discernment to be able to search these things out. It says, from a spiritual perspective, Edom and Basra represent the downfall of worldly ambitions and the ultimate triumph of the Most High's judgment over such systems. The prophecy speaks of a sacrifice in Basra, which we're going to get into, Lord's will. Isaiah, the 34th chapter, goes into that, right? And a great slaughter in the land of Edom, which can be interpreted as symbolic language for the end of worldly rule. And who's currently ruling this kingdom right now? Esau, Edom. Under what rulership? Babylon, the Great America, right? Now, remember, let's come back over here. Let me pull this up real quick. Because we mentioned the daughter of Babylon. We know that Basra is synonymous, is one of the fortresses cities of Edom. But when you go to Psalms 137, real quick, and verse 7 on down, remember, O Yahweh, the children of Edom in the day of Jerusalem, who said, race it, meaning destroy it, even to the foundation thereof. O daughter of Babylon, who art to be destroyed. Happy shall he be that rewarded thee as thou hast served us. Now, what's interesting is, notice this part, it says that rewarded thee. I wonder if Blue Letter has the direct precept in Revelation, the 18th chapter. Oh, what do we have here? Revelation 18:6. Let's drop down to that. And let's see what we can pick up from that precept. Revelation 18:6, which, by the way, when you go into Revelation, the 18th chapter, that whole entire chapter is centered around the downfall of Babylon the Great. And it reads, Revelation 18:6, reward her even as she rewarded you, and double unto her double according to her works, and the cup which she hath filled to her double. You see how it's all synonymous, because what you're going to find out when you read the volume of the book is that whether it is called Edom, whether it is called Basra, the daughter of Babylon, even Babylon the Great, they are all one in unison with one another. They are all connected. It's talking about the same thing. Do you understand that, Deacon and Hassad? Right? And so now, let me come back over here. So now that brings me to my next point. Isaiah 63:1, because he stated, if we come back over here, okay, notice section 2, the lake of fire begins in Edom, specifically Basra, right? They really thought that they did something by putting this PDF together, but you haven't done anything. He says, now let's talk about the origin story. Where does the lake of fire begin? That would be Edom. Yahushua returns to Edom first, not Jerusalem or America. But wait a minute. We just established, Deacon and Hassad, that spiritually, Basra, okay, is symbolic to the daughter of Babylon, which is America. So now let's come back over here and let's quickly go through Isaiah 63. Right? Isaiah 63, plain and simple. Who is this that cometh from Edom with dyed garments from Basra? So now that we went through and established that Basra is synonymous with the daughter of Babylon, which is America, right? Because did not, even when you get Zechariah, the 5th chapter, what did the Lord tell Zechariah when he saw the flying roll, right? Which is a chariot. when you get to the point, he said, look, Zechariah 5 and 4. All right. The angels, the Alahayim, the heavenly host, it says, I will bring it forth, saith Yahweh of hosts, and it shall enter into the house of the thief and into the house of him that swear falsely by my name, and it shall remain in the midst of his house, and shall consume it with the timber thereof and the stones thereof. The house of the thief represents Babylon the Great America. All right. As even the statement that was made by what's his name? Hitler. Hitler said that he pretty much America has the jewels of the Heavenly Father. Right? So Lockie, give me a second. Right. So now, if we understand that talking point, let's go back to Isaiah 63. All right. And let's read it again. Isaiah 63 and 1. Who is this that cometh from Edom with dyed garments from Basra? This that is glorious in his apparel, traveling in the greatness of his strength. I that speak in righteousness, minded to save. So essentially what's going on here is that the prophecy is being spoken through, all right, through Isaiah. And Isaiah is saying, yeah, Yahweh Shai, when he's going to show up, he's going to come back to a world ruled by Esau, Edom. Okay. And Basra really is talking about America. And we've proven that. Right. So now let's get some more and let's tie some of this in. This is Jeremiah chapter 51 and verse 6. It says, flee out of the midst of Babylon, which is America, and deliver every man his soul, and be not cut off in her iniquity, for this is the time of Yahweh's vengeance. He will render unto her a recompense. All right. Now, I want you to keep this precept in mind, because remember, the context is centered around Babylon, right? Which we understand that this is speaking of Babylon, the Great America today. And then the key part also is it speaks of Yahweh's vengeance. Now, what's interesting is when you come over here and you jump to Isaiah, the 34th chapter. All right. And you start around verse 5 to verse 6. It says, for my sword shall be bathed in heaven, and behold, it shall come down upon Idumea. Now, the word Idumea is Greek for the word Edom. Okay. So anytime you see Idumea, it's the same thing as Edom. It says, and upon the people of my curse to judgment, it says, the sword of Yahweh is filled with blood. It is made fat with the fatness and with the blood of the lambs and goats and with the fat of the kidneys of rams. For Yahweh hath a sacrifice in Basra, aka America, or Babylon the Great, and a great slaughter in the land of Idumea. Right? It says, and the unicorn shall come down with them, and the bullocks with the bulls, and their land shall be soaked with blood, and their dust made with fatness. For it is the day of Yahweh's vengeance. Did we not just read that in Jeremiah? Jeremiah 51 and 6 to be exact. All right. This is why even King David said, what? Through thy precepts I get understanding, therefore I hate every false way. Okay. So now let's go a step further. All right. We're going to go a step further. So now that we got that understanding, we're going to come to the next talking point, which is Armageddon. Now, they said that the Valley of Jehoshaphat and Armageddon is two different scenario talking points. They are not the same thing. So knowing me, this is what I did. So let's come over here. Now, I just typed into Google because once again, I just want to, you got to have fun with this thing, right? So I typed in, is Revelation 16 and 16 and any correlation to Joel chapter 3, verses 9 through 13. This is what it told me. Yes, there is a strong correlation between Revelation 16 and 16 and Joel 3, verses 9 through 13. Both passages describe a gathering of the nations for a climatic event, with Revelation 16 and 16 specifically mentioning Armageddon, which means a mountain of troops. All right. Or it says, which is a place where the Most High Yahweh will gather the nations to judge them as described in Joel 3, 9 and 13. All right. Now, before we read those precepts, all right, let's quickly go through these passages. It says this passage in Joel, the 3rd chapter, verses 9 to 13, also describes a gathering of nations, but focuses on the harvest of the Most High's judgment, urging preparation for the day of the Lord in the harvest. The imagery of the harvest can be seen as a parallel to the gathering at Armageddon, where the Most High will judge the wicked. This is something that Jinn no damn sense can see. All right, because they're carnal, they're not spiritual. They can't link the precepts together. They can't see the overall picture, right? Common theme. Both Revelation 16 and 16 and Joel 3, verses 9 through 13 depict a final, decisive confrontation where the Most High Yahweh acts against the wicked nations. It says Armageddon's meaning, which we know that. I've already stated that. Joel 3 and 13 in its connection to Revelation 16, the call to put in the sickle for the harvest is ripe. And Joel 3 and 13 is symbolic of the Most High's judgment. In the day of the Lord that Joel describes can be understood as the same day of judgment described in Revelation. So Genesis, Deacon and Hassad, you have some explaining to do, right? So touching on that, let's come back over here and we're going to read it. Now, let's start at verse 13, Armageddon. And I saw 3 unclean spirits like frogs come out of the mouth of the dragon, all right, which goes back to pagan Rome, all right, which has been revived through Babylon the Great America today, and out of the mouth of the beast, which represents NATO and the EU, and out of the mouth of the false prophet, which goes into the Vatican Church. Now, you have something for those of you who don't understand. Let me see here if I can pull it up. I remember Apostle Gabar went through this a while back, but you have something that's called the Holy See. Holy See with 2 double E's. All right. Now, for just a quick little overview. All right. So just bear with me. All right. When you type in Holy See, the Holy See is the central governing body of the Roman Catholic Church with its headquarters in Vatican City. It also referred to as the See of Rome, the Petrine See, or the Apostolic See. It says the Holy See is the seat of the Pope, who is the Bishop of Rome, and is seen as the successor of the Saint of Peter. But really, when you talk about its governance, this is what it actually means. The Holy See is responsible for the overall governance of the Catholic Church, including matters of faith, morals, and international relations. All right. And you can look this up even further because it tells you the Pope, they have jurisdictions with America, with NATO, and also with Russia. This is why a lot of times you'll see the prime ministers, the presidents, they'll go over there particular different times of the year to receive blessings and stuff. And you will also see that the Catholic Church is responsible for passing down to these different government bodies on what to do, what's going to be the next state dealing with technology, this, that, and the third. All right. And once again, that's just a quick overview. You can look the rest of this up yourself. All right. So we're going to come back over here where we left off. Revelation 16 and 14. For they are the spirits of devils working miracles. And by miracles is speaking of going into their technologies. All right. It was said before Pope Francis passed away close to a month or so ago. A couple of years ago, he got all the nations together to implement a world peace, a new world order under the Abrahamic faith to try to bring all religions together, and also something to do with technology, which he was down for the CBD system. You can look that up too. It says, for they are spirits of devils working miracles, which go forth unto the kings of the earth and of the whole world to gather them to get to the battle of the great day of the Almighty. Now, what is that referring to? Let's see if Blue Letter puts it in. All right. And what do we have here? To gather them to the battle of that great day. And look what they have. Joel 3:11 and 14. So let's visit that real quick. Let's come down here. All right. And it reads Joel 3:11. It says, assemble yourselves and come, all ye heathen, meaning all the heathen nations, and gather yourselves together round about. Thither cause thy mighty ones to come down, O Yahweh. And let the heathen be awakened and come up to the valley of Jehoshaphat or Yahweh Shaphat. For there will I sit to judge all the heathen round about. Put ye in the sickle, for the harvest is ripe, and come get you down, for the press is full, the fats overflow, for their wickedness is great. That's why he said in Isaiah the 34th chapter that he had the great sacrifice in Basra. This is speaking of in this context, because Yahweh Shaphat, that valley is over there in the Levant region, right? It says on verse 14, multitudes and multitudes in the valley of decision, for the day of Yahweh is near in the valley of decision, right? And you see how this is synonymous with Revelation, the 16th chapter, dealing with Armageddon, right? The mountain of troops. All right. So we got that understanding in verse 15. Behold, I come as a thief. Blessed is he that watcheth and keepeth his garments, lest he walk naked and they see his shame. Right. And what that's going into is basically you're supposed to be on your watch so that, you know, when your hour shot comes back as a thief in the night, when these, you know, when the missiles are shot off or whatever, all right, you're not caught lacking out there. All right. To keep your garments represents this wisdom, knowledge, and understanding of the scriptures. All right. You're supposed to stay fast in the understanding and let it not escape thee. All right. As the scriptures tells us. All right. So furthermore, when you drop down to verse 16, straight to the point, and he gathered them together into a place called in the Hebrew tongue, Armageddon. All right. Which really means the mountain of troops. All right. That's really what it goes into. And it's synonymous, as we read here. All right. And we even brought it out in Google. All right. It's a direct correlation. All right. Between one another. All right. So that's strike two, Deacon and Hassad. You don't know what you're talking about. All right. And so the next talking point that I looked up, because they said, coming back here to the PDF, America is Babylon, not the lake of fire. Right. That's what they said in their PDF. So you know what I did? Yes, that's right. I did it again. All right. So I put it into Google and look at what Google said. First, I asked Google the question, is the lake of fire in correlation to the destruction of Babylon the Great? And this is what they had to say. Yes, there is a strong correlation between the lake of fire and the destruction of Babylon the Great in the biblical text, particularly in the book of Revelation. It says the lake of fire is often interpreted as a symbol of final destruction and punishment. And the destruction of Babylon is described as a violent and fiery event. So, Salakia, if anybody who has a working brain, okay, and can comprehend and put two and two together, all right, you can see that the lake of fire is really speaking about that thermonuclear destruction that's going to hit Babylon the Great and also other places in the world that the Lord is going to allow for those missiles to hit, which also includes Israel, pursuant to Ezekiel, the 38th chapter. Israel is going to be destroyed, but the difference between Israel and America is Israel is going to be rebuilt up again. America is not. It says, here's a more detailed look at the connection. Destruction of Babylon. Revelation 18 describes Babylon as being burned with fire, indicating a complete and irreversible destruction. This destruction is a judgment against Babylon for its wickedness and oppression. Lake of fire as a place of eternal destruction. The lake of fire is often understood as a place where the wicked, including Satan and the beast, all right, which really that's speaking about Esau, Edom in the correct context, and the beast, NATO and the EU, are thrown after judgment, symbolizing eternal destruction and separation from the Most High. Shared imagery. The imagery of fire, destruction, and judgment is used to describe both the fate of Babylon and the ultimate punishment in the lake of fire. Revelation 19 and 20. This verse explicitly mentions that the beast and the false prophet, which is the Roman Catholic Church. That's why we went into the Holy See and how it has international relations with different governments. All right. So they're in cahoots with one another. It says that the beast and the false prophet are cast into the lake of fire, further linking their destruction to the lake. All right. You see the connection, right? Stay with me now. It says, Revelation 20 and 14. This verse states that death and Hades, which really is talking about the grave, all right, which goes back to the Hebrew word Sha'al, are cast into the lake of fire, signifying the ultimate end of death in the grave. All right. It says symbolic nature. The lake of fire and the destruction of Babylon are often seen as symbolic, representing the final judgment and the consequences of wickedness. All right. And this is AI's response. Right. So now what I did, let's get some scriptures. All right. And then we're going to close out because this is our third talking point, linking the lake of fire be that of Babylon. Jeremiah 50 and 9. For lo, I'll start at verse 8. It says, remove out of the midst of Babylon and go forth out of the land of Chaldeans and be as the he goats before the flocks. For lo, I will raise and cause to come up against Babylon and an assembly of great nations from the north country. Because really, if you look on a map where America sits, Russia is actually north of America. All right. So that the nations from the north country, you can link that to Ezekiel, the 38th chapter. Remember, Russia, all right, which goes back to Gog and Gog of Magog, is going to be a company with a host of other nations. All right, it's going to be a guide unto them. That's the scripture says in Ezekiel, the 38th chapter. And so be that it may, it goes on to say, and they shall set themselves in array against her, meaning America, and from thence she shall be taken, and their arrows shall be as of a mighty expert man, and none shall return in vain. Now, what do you think these arrows symbolize? They symbolize what we call today the ICBM missiles, because you cannot shoot and bore an arrow from Russia all the way to America. It's not going to happen. That's not what it's talking about, right? Drop down to verse 14. It says, put yourselves in array against Babylon round about. All ye that bend the bow, shoot at her and spare no arrows, for she hath sinned against Yahweh. All right. And once again, these arrows are speaking about the ICBM missiles. That's where the lake of fire is going to start. All right. And also, yes, because you're going to have the armies over there in the Levant region. All right. And it says in 2nd Ezra, the 13th chapter, that when Yahweh Shai cracks the skies, that he will come down, and the men, they're going to first look up and be scared, but the Lord's going to put the spirit on them to fight his son, Yahweh Shai. All right. That's in 2nd Ezra, the 13th chapter. Right. And so then I said, okay, victory for the Lamb. In Revelation 17 and 14, it says, these shall make war with the Lamb, and the Lamb shall overcome them. For he is Lord of lords and King of kings, and they that are with him are called and chosen and faithful. All right, the elect. And he said unto me, the waters which thou sawest, where the whore sitteth, Babylon the great America, are peoples and multitudes and nations and tongues. And the 10 horns, which is the beast that thou sawest upon the beast, these shall hate the whore, and shall make her desolate and naked, and shall eat her flesh and burn her with fire. So what you have in this situation is you not only have Russia, Salakia, and the company of nations mentioned in Ezekiel 38 chapter, but guess what? You also have America's own allies. They're going to turn against America. All right. That's why you're starting to see the tensions between France, Great Britain, Turkey, which is an alliance of NATO, but they're standing up for their Islamic brethren. Right. So it's all happening. Okay. You can also get that in the book of Obadiah, chapter 1 and verse 7. Okay. All those that were at Confederacy are now against thee. Okay. Those that America has made in an alliance with. All right. So we just, We're just picking this apart, going through it. So then, as we read, the doom of the beast and the false prophet, Revelation 19:20, and the beast was taken, and with him the false prophet, again, NATO and EU, Roman Catholic Church, that wrought miracles before him. All right, Esau's technologies. All right, AI, all of this and that and the third, which he deceived them that have received the mark of the beast, the RFID micro CHIP, and them that worshiped his image. All right, which the image talks about everything that's linked today that goes back to pagan Rome. So from his, philosophies, his way of life, judicial system, his architecture, everything. That's the image it's speaking of. It says these both were cast alive into the lake of fire, burning with fire and brimstone. All right. In other words, this is centering around those thermonuclear, the thermonuclear destruction that's going to come from those ICBM missiles. And when those ICBM missiles hit on America, all right, it's going to turn America into a lake of fire. They showed you that in the movie Terminator 2, Judgment Day. Okay. Let's see what else we got here. Yeah, that's pretty much it. So again, all right, I've added this PDF into the comment section, not the comment section, but into the description box of the live. Again, I've also dropped the video there in the live. So if you brothers want to skim through it, pick out some talking points, and do a lesson, bring some edification out, it's all there for you. So I'm gonna end it there. I pray that this lesson was edifying, so we went through as a recap the three main talking points. One, we showed you how the lake of fire really means, really is talking about America being in fire. All right. Oh yeah, the water Akia. Let's bring that precept out because it talks about the plague in Zechariah 14 chapter. So let's quickly bring that one out. Good looking. The water for that. Straight to the point. Zechariah 14 and 12, right? And it reads, it says, share the screen. And this shall be the plague wherewith Yahweh will smite all the people that have fought against Jerusalem, and their flesh shall consume away while they stand up upon their feet. And their eyes shall consume away in their holes, and their tongue shall consume away in their mouth. Now, you had a documentary. Let me see if I can find it real quick. All right, let me do this on the fly. What was that documentary called? What was the documentary called? Damn it, what was the name of it? It's a 70s documentary. Something to Earth. I might not be able to think of it. I don't know if you brothers know, but man, what is it called? The Earth. You know what? I can't think of it right now, but if it comes back to me, I'll do a separate lesson on it because the guy who did it, he passed away last year. Who made the documentary, and Elder Apostle Tahar always went into that documentary because in that documentary it talks about how they linked the prophecy in Joel the third chapter in the Levant region, and they knew that it was talking about thermonuclear fire. They knew that it was talking about thermonuclear destruction. So what we essentially read in Zechariah the 14th chapter, all right, that's just proof, all right, through faith that this is exactly what it's speaking of. All right, that ultimate plague. All right. Man, I always forget the documentary, but it's okay. Like I said, if I remember it, I'm definitely going to do a lesson on it, Lord's will. But yeah, so again, that's pretty much it. The water again, brother, for bringing out that precept for me. And I pray that this lesson has been edifying. Again, we went through the lake of fire being synonymous with America. We went through Basra, all right, which is Edom, also synonymous with the daughter of Babylon, which is Babylon, the Great America. And then we also spoke about so what was that? Basra, lake of fire, and I think also dealing with Babylon the Great. All right. And dealing with the arrows, the missiles, and so forth, and how that all correlates with one another, right? So yeah, that's pretty much it. I think the point has been made. These guys, I don't know what their deal is. I don't know if they're agents of provocateurs, whatever the case may be. But I'm gonna end it off with this precept here, by the way. Let's get Romans 16 and 17, which says, now I beseech you, brethren, mark them which cause divisions and offenses contrary to the doctrine which ye have learned, and avoid them. Okay. And you want to avoid these individuals, man, because they got it twisted. All right. And they come in with false doctrine. They need to have one to teach them again. All right. So that's it. That's all I got. I want to say Shabbat Shalom. Call Halayimla Yahweh Bahasham Yahushai Bahasham Rakah Hakwadash. Double honors to the beloved apostles and elders of Great Millstone, better known as GMS, who we will. Peace and salutation unto the hopeful elect, the tabernacle of David. It's on to the next, Lord's will. Shalom.